G'day gamers, Ranger Tony here with another episode of Pathfinder Kingmaker Beneath the Stolen Lands. This is going to be the start of our Season 3 playthrough. Where is it? 3? Little behind the scenes, I've actually recorded 5 episodes of this already and decided to scrap them. Now, what I had recorded was 5 episodes of some human kineticists, 3 kinetic knights, 3 straight kineticists, going down, and I got to level 4 or 5 or something like that, or maybe even 6. And I was very happy with the way it was going. Very nice group, working really well. But after the feedback that I've got on my 3 recent kineticist videos that I've uploaded, the plasma kinetic knight, the electric kinetic swashbuckler, and a little brief teaser of the kinetic magus, I decided to actually do a playthrough with some of these variations. And I decided that what I was going to do is showcase something else. So if you've seen a lot of my videos, you'll know that I don't play halflings a lot. I did do a playthrough with a group of halfling rogues, some knife masters, to see how they went. But generally I don't play halflings because, or even gnomes, because of their problems with their weapons doing less damage. But I have said in the past that the classes that work really well for halflings and gnomes are pure spellcasters, because the spells do the same damage no matter whether you're 2 foot tall or 10 foot tall. Each spell does the same damage. Well, you guessed it, the kineticist is exactly the same. So what it means is a halfling kinetic knight can stand toe to toe with a dwarf, a human, a half ogre, a tiefling, whatever. They do the same damage when they attack. Your kinetic blade as a halfling is not reduced from 1d6 per 2 levels to, say, 1d4 per 2 levels. So it makes it much more appealing to play a halfling because you feel like you're on a similar playing field to everybody else. You're not being held back. So I'm actually going to play a combination of halfling and gnome for this. And we're going to have 3 kineticists. We're going to have a pure kinetic knight, probably a cold kinetic knight to begin with. So sword and shield, or kinetic blade and shield. And then we're going to have the kinetic swashbuckler. So kinetic sword and, say, dagger, or, well, it'll be dagger or light mace, maybe. The light mace will definitely be better for the halfling. And then we're going to try the kinetic magus. Now, I do also plan to do a full build of the kinetic magus and put that up. As I said previously, it's not the sort of thing I normally do. I normally don't play dual class, but this was such an interesting option that I wanted to try it. And then we're also going to have 3 straight kineticists. 1 fire, 1 cold, 1 electric. And I'm going to mix things up a little bit. So, for example, the kinetic magus is going to be a gnome. The reason for that is I'm actually going to do a kinetic knight eldritch scion rather than a kinetic knight magus. And gnomes have the charisma for that. So I think, to be fair, my main character will be the halfling straight kineticist. Just normal kinetic knight, straight kinetic knight. And then I will do 2 gnome kinetic knights, one as the electric swashbuckler, the other as the kinetic scion, if you want to call it that. And then we're going to have 2 halfling kineticists and a gnome kineticist, so that we've got a good mix there between gnomes and halflings, so 3 of each. And there will be 2 gnome kinetic knights and 1 gnome kineticist, and there'll be 1 halfling kinetic knight and 2 halfling kineticists. If that all makes sense. I think I got that right. So let's dive on in. Standard, normal, turn off tutorials even though it doesn't do it. Portraits. I've actually got some new mods enabled. Nothing major. One which from my previous playthroughs would have been useful, which someone in the comments told me about, which gets rid of area of effect at any time by hitting the L key. So that after a combat I can do that and all the webs and all that sort of stuff can disappear, but we probably won't be seeing that very much in this because there's only one of us who's got spells, and that will be the Eldritch Magus. Sorry, the Kinetic Magus. And a couple other little minor things, one that speeds up the loading of the start of the game, the animation and stuff. But I also downloaded some more portraits, and I downloaded a huge pack which had like 2,000 portraits in it. I have just downloaded added in the halfling and gnome portrait pack for the moment. And really hard to find halflings that I like. For a halfling kineticist, this is the only one I really like, but I hate the yellow eyes. He sort of looks like a halfling, although he could sort of be a gnome too. I mean, you really have to look at their feet. This guy looks more gnomish than halfling to me. And there's a bunch of females here as well, and we're going to mix it up between males and females. So, yeah, I think just because I like this one a little bit more, that's going to be my main halfling character, even though he looks a little bit gnomish to me. I could do, yeah, it's hard because, the defining character, that doesn't even look gnomish, those teeth. The defining characteristic of the halfling is the furry feet. I mean, that's obviously a halfling because he's wearing sandals type things. But, is that guy a halfling, or is he a gnome, or is he just some weird looking guy? He looks more half-elf to me than anything. And that guy just looks weird, and that's definitely a gnome, and that sort of looks like maybe a halfling, and there's an Orlan from Pillars of Eternity. So yeah, I think I'm going to use this guy for my primary character, and so we're going to go with a halfling. Yeah, the slightly darker hair colour. I will give him the mutton chops. And is there a hairstyle that's... No. Maybe that hairstyle doesn't look too bad. Okay. Kineticist, Kinetic Knight, straight Kinetic Knight. So the advantage of playing a halfling, you get some disadvantages. So the big disadvantage is you lose an extra skill point at first level, which humans get, and you lose 1 feat. Humans get a bonus feat at first level. And particularly for the straight kineticists, this is going to hurt because as a human, it was good to be able to get point-blank shot and precise shot out of the way straight away. So that's going to be a pain. But you get a bonus to your dexterity to begin with. I'm going to bump the strength to 10 because otherwise we're all halflings. We're all going to be really bad if we don't have a bit more strength. And then we're going to go straight to 18 there. Constitution is going to go to 16, and we've got 3 points left. Now, we don't need Charisma as a Kinetic Knight. So the options here are chuck it into Strength so we can carry more, and that would be all it would be for, or throw it into Intelligence so we can get some extra extra skill points. I think I'm going to throw it into Int to get the extra skill points, frankly, because we're going to hurt otherwise. We really are. If I was playing the main campaign or one of the campaigns, yeah, you've got to be really careful. But in Beneath the Stolen Lands, you only really need Knowledge Arcana, Knowledge World, Law Nature, Law religion, because that's what those pillars that you see are. A bit of trickery, someone to have some trickery, and someone to have some perception. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take perception, and I'm going to take trickery, and then because of my high intelligence, I've got a bonus to these, so I'm going to take knowledge world. And that's going to be it. We don't really need mobility, although it does help with armor checks and stuff like that. And, athletics isn't necessary for Beneath the Stolen Lands. So, yeah. So we are going to pick weapon finesse here. Now, in my other builds as a human, I would then take, say, shield focus or things like that. We don't get that second point, so that's fine. Now, I said this one was going to be a cold. Now, the reason why I'm going cold, I think fire is a better bet for... Okay, the kinetic magus that I'm going to do, I want him to have fire rather than electric or cold. And here is the reason why. I want him to have fire rather than water or air, basically. Water guys, like this one, they get kinetic healing. And the problem we're going to have with the kinetic magus is you'll only... If I go level for level between kinetic knight and eldritch scion or magus, if I go level for level, I'm really only ever going to get to 10th level kinetic knight and 10th level magus by the time I got to 20th level, right? Which means I'm only going to get to 5d6 of damage from my kinetic blast, and that means I can only ever do 5d6 worth of healing if I was a cold guy. So, and I want 2 kineticists in my party, 2 people to have early on to have kinetic healing so that they can help heal the party. So I don't want to hinder that by having my kinetic magus be water-based. I don't want him to be air-based because the energy of that is electric, and one of the earliest spells you get as a Eldritch Scion that is any use is Shocking Grasp. And so when he is attacking with his kinetic blade, I want him to be using something different from that. I want a different element so that it doesn't conflict. And the best option there is to go with fire for the kinetic magus. So it means my full kinetic knight, just plain kinetic knight build, will be cold. My kinetic swashbuckler will be electric. And then the kinetic magus will be fire. So that's my reasoning behind all of that. And I don't have names. Oh, damn. What am I going to do? This guy is cold-based, isn't he? Remus, I don't know why. It's sort of like Rhyme. I did have Rhyme as a name that I was using in one of my other playthroughs with a kineticist. Yeah, I'll stick with Rhyme. If you don't know, Rhyme is an old word for ice. I picked that up when I was playing Dungeons of Daggeroth. If you see my Dungeons of Daggeroth playthrough, there is an ice ring or a rhyme ring that you incant to ice in that. Actually, I'm going to make him... No, lawful good. For some reason, I have water as lawful good, fire as neutral good, and electric as chaotic good. I don't know why. I just do. Okay, so we've created our first guy. I'm going to create all of the melee characters first. I should be able to create the 3 kinetic knights first, and then I will be able to create one of the one of the straight kineticists before I need to get more money. So hopefully we can get all of that done this round. This episode. I've been talking a lot more than I really expected to. So I'm going to go for 2 what hopefully look like gnomish women for this lot. And I want one that sort of looks a bit electric. Oh, that one. Doesn't really... I mean, the devices and stuff and the weird cat looks very weird, but just that blue around her looks very electric. So this is going to be my gnomish kinetic... electric kinetic swashbuckling. The problem here is that we're not going to be able to get 2-weapon fighting for a little while. So she's going to start with the sword and shield. I've got to remember that this is a she, and we'll give her purple. Yeah, actually, we'll give her the. We'll give her the purple hair. It's as close as I can get to that hair color. What hairstyles? Whoa. Yeah, I think we'll stick with that one, actually. What are the faces? I don't like those huge eyebrows. But I guess we don't have a choice. That one will do. Okay. Not going to complain. Kinetic Knight. Okay, so again, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to drop that to there. Oops, that's wrong. That. So here we have the problem. Because they get a bonus to Constitution and not to Dexterity, these Kinetic Knights aren't going to be able to start with a Dex of 18. Unless I do something like that. And I think that's sort of workable. Okay. Perception and Law Nature. Actually, Law Religion. Yeah, cool. And I want a gnomish name, don't I? That seems a little bit like... Oh, okay, first of all, Weapon Finesse. And we said electric, didn't we? And yes, I want a gnomish name. Sorry, I'm just calling up a name generator here. Okay, this is... So Sky. That's where lightning comes from. That's where the air is. What did I say? Chaotic good for her. Let's add her to the party. So yeah, here's the really good thing. If I go and have a look at my character, 1d6 plus 1 of cold damage from the kinetic blade. It's not 1d4. So that is really good, and we'll turn that on for you as well. By our second one, our third companion, really. Another gnomish. Oh, she was the gnome. She was the one who looked like a little bit fiery. Doesn't really have a sword, but very red and fiery. That's good enough. Okay, so gnomish female, fiery. We want slightly different hairstyle this time. Yeah, I don't mind that one. I'm just going to go with straight up that. Kineticist, Kinetic Knight. So I'm going to take the Kinetic Knight first rather than the Magus with this one. The reason for that is I want her to have the access to the kinetic blade straight away. Is mostly what it's about. Because if I don't, she's sort of got to rely on another weapon initially before she then gets the kinetic blade and then gets spells. So it's a little weird. I mean, it's going to be a while before she can actually function as a fully functional kinetic magus, because she and this is where we have to sort of be a little bit delicate. Yeah, the point build for this is interesting. I don't want to go too low on charisma. In fact, I need to go to 15 there, I think. But I really wish I had 18 for the dex there. That's the biggest thing that's going to hold this build back. As a human, if you were playing this as your primary character, not a problem. You could go to 18 on the dex, because you've got those extra 5 ability points to play with. Right? So the build video that I'm going to do of this will probably not be a halfling or a gnome. It might be a human, but you will have... I might do the gnome version, but because you're playing it as your primary character, you'll have the extra 5 ability points, so you'll be able to get a better score here. But as this isn't the primary character, you can't get that really good score. So I'm going to take Knowledge World and Knowledge Arcana. I'm not even going to take... No, actually, I will still take Perception. I want my guys in the front to have Perception to pick up traps. The guys in the back line, maybe not so much. Definitely Weapon Finesse, and we said Fire for this one. And I want a nice fiery... Oh, I did have one. Ash, of course. There was Ash there in the list. And Neutral Good. Okay, and let's add Ash in, and let's set up her weapon as well. And so they've all got their weapons ready to go, and they're all doing good damage with them. Ash is not going to be able to hit quite as much as the other two, but we're looking good. The last of the companions that I'm going to get for now is going to be a halfling... female, maybe? I don't know. I don't think of halflings having these really long, pointy ears like this. That's more gnome to me. Yet this one here barely looks like a halfling. Her feet aren't furry enough for a start. She looks more like a 6-year-old. And so does this one. The face looks too young, even though I think it's supposed to be a halfling. So I might take this one, even though she's got a sword. And I'm gonna start her as... So that's going to be a halfling female. Yeah, that hair colour is fine. I might go with that hairstyle. It's not quite right, but it's better than that. And that's fine. Kinetic, straight kineticist. So go to 10 there, drop that back to 10, 18, 16. Bingo. We've got now... Did anyone take Knowledge Arcana? I don't think Ash did. Oh, no one's taken Nature. Well, there we go. I think we need to take Nature. And I know I said I was going to not going to put Perception on the back line, but I think I will. Okay. And Point Blank Shot is all we're going to get there. So we are going to take, I think, Fire initially for this one. I'll take Burning Infusion first, I think. It's nothing to do with fire, but that sort of jumped out at me. Neutral Good. There we go. Okay, that is our starting party. we don't really have much time to do much down in the dungeon. Let me really quickly just go through and set a few things up, and then we'll head down and do a little bit of the first level. Alchemist. Okay, so the biggest problem that we have playing halflings and gnomes is their reduced movement rate. So it means that if this was a group of humans, this alchemist might actually have been in range for one of my kinetic knights to charge and attack, but definitely not going to be the case for any of these guys. So we're just going to have to be a little bit more careful. Probably wouldn't have been even for the humans because we didn't have surprise, or we've got surprise but only get half a round sort of thing to do what we want. So we're just going to get into a rough position. Oh, there was one right there. I didn't even notice him. Damn it. That's all right. He's going to take on Sky, and then instead Brina from behind is going to hit him. And really quickly, this silly option that is never on by default, got to do every single time, which I wish I didn't have to. Okay, beautiful. And how is he doing? He's quarter dead. That's fine. Okay, now, no, we still can't charge in, so we'll just make our way. And we're going to get right up in his face. Now, the other thing, I have tested this, and I've also looked through some forums and stuff. And I believe it's wrong. I don't believe this should be the case, but you do not get an attack of opportunity as using a kinetic blade. There is talk on the there's a D20 website which has a lot of the rules and everything for Pathfinder for the tabletop game on it, and it mentions the fact that using a kinetic blade or the creation of your kinetic blade does not make you vulnerable to an attack of opportunity. But it never actually says that you can't use it to make an attack of opportunity. Now, the idea is that the blade isn't supposed to come into your hand until you attack. Your hand is essentially empty most of the time. But my thought on it is, well, a kinetic knight is different from a regular kineticist, and surely I can charge with rhyme. So surely a kinetic knight would actually have the blade available at all times, and because they're designed to be a melee, they should be able to do attacks of opportunity with it. But that's the other big problem with playing the kinetic knight, is there are no attacks of opportunity. And that can be a real disadvantage, because you got characters right in front of you with trying to cast spells or shoot bows or whatever, and you can't lash out and hit them. Except for the swashbuckler will be able to, because he will be wielding a dagger in his... She will be wielding a dagger in her offhand, so she might. I don't say will, might. I haven't actually tested that. We'll see. Good shot there by Brina. And the alchemist is drinking his mutagen, giving him some extra constitution. Oh, Ash missed. Okay, and probably just a little bit too far to charge for Sky. So Sky's just going to trundle on in, get right up in his face, and because we can't see for that, we'll just use the camera mod and turn it around so we can see what's going on. The other thing I've done is I've turned off 5-foot step automatically, because most of the time these guys have initially only got one attack per round, and so the kinetic knights, it's an advantage to move more than 5 foot to attack if you can. And for my normal kineticists, if they're not in range, I want them to move as far as they need to go to get in range to make an attack at the start of any round anyway. So I've got that turned off. I may turn it back on automatically later, but I've also memorized the hotkey to turn it off per round, which will hopefully make that easier, which is Alt-F, by the way, if you're playing with the turn-based combat mod. We can already see that Ash, who is designed to be the kinetic magus, is missing a little more often than the other guys because she has a dex of only 16 rather than 18. It's a little disappointing. Oh, the other feature that I've got is I've got the stats mod added in, which gives... Oh, it's not giving us statistics for some reason. Why not? Maybe it only works in the main story, and maybe it doesn't work for Beneath the Stolen Lands. That's annoying. Okay. Well, I can't show that off. Let's loot this. Ooh, 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 ooh. We might be going back and getting... Okay. What have we got here? That's worth 600. That's one more guy. And that is worth 1750. We're going to back... I was going to cut this episode short, but we're going to go back and get our last two guys. So this might be a touch longer than I wanted, but that's enough money to get our last two companions, and then I'll call it the end of the episode there, and next episode we'll finish off level 1 of the dungeon and continue onwards. So... Okay, so this is going to be another gnome. I might make this a guy. And this is going to be... Actually, I'm going to use him. I don't know why, but I am. So, gnome. I want dark hair. I want a beard. What have we got? Beard options. God, they're weird beards. That'll do. That face is fine. I don't care. That hairstyle's fine. Kineticist. We've already done the fire. We'll make this guy the electric. So... We don't need charisma. I think that'll do, actually. He's not going to have as much burn, but we'll bump that up when we can. So what did we say? We've got +1 there, we've got +4 there, we've got +3 there, we've got +2 there. We've really got them all covered. I might go perception, someone else with trickery for this one, just to be sure we've got someone else who can maybe open chests. Point blank shot, set air, we'll go extended range, electric blast. I don't know why, but Joven. I like that one. This is electric, chaotic good. Okay. And then one more halfling female, kineticist, air this time. Yeah, she'll do. Halfling, female, red hair. I think she's got a ponytail, doesn't she? Well, she does now. Oh no, there was no ponytail. That'll do. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Kineticist. Kineticist. I could have done Dark Elementalist and Psychokinetic, but when I've tried them, I've never liked either of them. They're both really challenging, in my opinion, to play. So you can get better stats here as your secondary characters as halflings rather than gnomes, so be aware of that, because you get the bonus to Dex as a halfling, whereas you get that same bonus to Constitution as a gnome. I think I'm going to go Perception Trickery with this one as well. I don't know why. point blank shot, water, extended range, cold blasts, and lawful good. Isana. Oops, none. Complete. And let's add her into the party, and let's just really quickly set these guys up. And there we go. That's our party of kinetic halflings. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We are going to have fun trying out these kinetic builds. If you have enjoyed this episode, please give me a like and share it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to keep up to date with all of the latest episodes, and I will see you for the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye.